What's up everybody, Austin here from Make Pop Music and Austin Hall Audio and Visual, and we are back with another tutorial. And this week I wanted to go ahead and cover how to make a choir sound with only one vocalist. So I know that a lot of you are always looking to have big, kind of expansive choir sections in your songs. However, going and finding a local choir and finding a studio that can record it, or finding a portable recording setup that can go to where the choir performs at, can be really expensive, really expansive, and it can be a huge time hog. So if you're looking to kind of do it on the cheap and super quickly, you can actually go ahead and do some things with one vocalist, and if you have more the merrier, and you can actually get something that sounds like a full, 20 to 30 person choir in your recording, especially if it's going to be a supporting element. With that said, of course, nothing will ever replace a real choir that's got 15 to 30 professional singers that all have written parts and they all know exactly what they're going to do, and you can get multiple takes of that. However, like I said, budget and time constraints are always in place, so if you want to learn how to do a choir, go ahead and follow me into my DAW. But before we do that, I did want to give a little bit of info. We have partnered up with Jay-Z Mics to be doing a giveaway, so if you want more info on that, go ahead and sign up to our mailing list or join our Facebook group. Links to both are in the description below. Next week, we're going to be giving away a Jay-Z BH2. It's their black hole mic. It's actually the mic that I use to record all of these vocals, and I've reviewed it before on our channel, so if you want the chance to win that mic completely for free, go ahead and sign up to the mailing list. Come over to the group. We'll give you some details next week, and we will pick one lucky winner to win that mic completely free of charge. You don't even have to do anything but fill out a quick little questionnaire. So definitely head over and check that out. But without further ado, let's actually hop into the DAW and see what we can do to turn one person into a whole choir. All right, now we're in the session, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you what the vocal sounded like before we had any choirs, because we do have a decent vocal arrangement already on this song, and I am gonna leave it. We had a lead vocal, we had an octave lower, we had a lead vocal tracked again and pan to the left, lead vocal tracked again and pan to the right, a left harmony, a right harmony, and then a second harmony left and right. And then we also have a vocoder and this big vocal reverb. So this is how it sounds with no choir.
I don't wanna wait, if what's done is done, baby.
And then in the context of the mix,
I don't wanna wait, if what's done is done, baby.
So we're already working with a really good vocal arrangement where we have a ton of tracks. Now let's go ahead and talk about how to actually make this choir sound. So I'll show you guys quickly kind of what we have. We have 24 different vocal tracks. So I had to track this literally 24 different times. And I feel like the key to having this actually sound like a choir is try to sing in different accents, try to sing with different kind of pauses and characteristics. Try to sound like as many different people as you can. So like I sang one with a country accent, I sang one really low, I sang one really nasally. And then of course you're gonna wanna do like the main melody, you're gonna wanna do a harmony section with 4 or 5 different takes, you're gonna wanna do some little ad-lib sections with 4 or 5 takes. Basically just do whatever you would want a whole choir to do. So if you had 24 people, how many would sing the main, how many would sing a harmony, how many would sing a second harmony, and how many would just kind of come in and out, just to add a little bit of impact and power. So what we did is we basically just have 24 different takes, and I don't time align them and I don't tune them at all, because if you're working with a choir, you're gonna get one stereo recording or maybe a couple mono recordings depending on your mic setup, but you're not gonna be going through and tuning and time aligning every single person perfectly. So that's the difference between having something that we kind of demonstrated at first, this.
I don't wanna wait, if what's done is done, baby.
Perfectly tuned, perfectly in time, super tight. That's where you're gonna get that really nice thick kind of vocal stack. And then if you want that choir, you just have to let some of the grossness out. Like some of them are gonna be out of pitch, some of them are gonna be off time, but that's kind of the beauty, and that's what's gonna kind of give it the illusion that there are a bunch of different people in one room.
I don't wanna wait, if what's done is done, baby. I don't wanna stay if he's on your mind lately.
So now that we've kind of talked about actually going through and having to just track those individually, I'll go ahead and show you kind of some of the tips that you can use to make them sound even a little bit different and give you that whole choir sound. So, just to let you know, this is not like a super shortcut. It's gonna be pretty time intensive. I probably spent 30 minutes recording all of these different vocal takes. However, it is nice because not all of them have to be perfect. They all need to be generally on pitch, because if every single one is way in and out, then you're gonna have huge problems when you bring the whole choir together. It's just gonna sound super jumbled. So I would say get everything at least to the right notes, and then I wouldn't go through and like really tweak tails or tweak transitions or anything like that. They all just need to be in the right kind of ballpark so they can just kind of flow as one element. So let me go ahead and turn off the processing that I did. when I'm doing a choir like this, I'll go ahead and have its own folder and I'll send it to its own bus. And then I'm not really doing any processing on these in particular. The reason that I don't is because I like to just be able to clip gain them so I can kind of get the levels exactly how I want between harmonies and sections without having to go through and kind of balance all of these faders. So as you can see, we'll scroll through, we pan them kind of how you would see a choir. So I like to pan them from left to right and then kind of bring them in the middle and just kind of picture that whole soundstage. So 100% left, right, 70% left and right, 50% left and right, 25% left and right. And then we go on to a new section, 100% left and right, 70% left and right. So I kind of have 8 per different vocal section. And that's really going to give us that very wide kind of stereoscopic sound.
I don't want to wait, if what's done is done, baby.
So you can tell we're polished up, we're panned around. The only other thing would be to go ahead and actually start processing this bus. So I would throw a couple compressors on, as you would to a normal choir anyway. I'm going to throw a de-esser on just so we don't have a bunch of poking out. And then this is where you really get the sauce of like creating that choir sound. I'm going to do one kind of reverb over here where we've got like a vocal chamber. I'm basically trying to emulate what it would sound like in the room if you just actually mic'd it up, because this is super dry, but when you're recording a choir, it's never just going to be completely dry and completely empty.
I don't want to wait, if what's done is done, baby. I don't want to...
So that's the first one that we do. And then I'm just going to EQ. We got a lot of kind of muddy low end in there.
I don't want to wait, if what's done is done, baby.
And then we're going to go through and add a second reverb. And so this is what I would call like the taste reverb. So the first one's just kind of emulating that room sound. And this one's going to be as if you were mixing that vocal and you wanted to throw on an extra long, kind of extra bright plug-in. This would kind of give it that extra sheen and that extra sparkle.
I don't want to wait, if what's done is done, baby. I don't want to stay if he's on you.
So it's going to give you that big cavernous kind of church vibe. And I like just splitting up the reverbs, that way we don't have one doing way too much work. They're pretty wet already, so if we were to drive them any more wet, you're just mostly going to get the characteristic of that kind of impulse response that those reverbs are acting on. So that's the reason that I'll use them kind of in tandem with each other and have one that creates that room sound and one that just creates that kind of creative, space that you want the actual vocal mix to sit in. The next thing I'll do is just throw on some either 8th note or 16th note ping pong delay. And that's really just to kind of help it sink in just a little bit more and make it a little bit more mushy.
I don't want to wait, if what's done is done, baby. I don't want to stay if he's on your mind lately.
So as you can see so far, it's been pretty cut and dry. It's probably the answer that a lot of people were hoping wasn't the answer. It's just recording a ton of vocals, sending them all to one bus, and then processing them how you would process a room. But let's go ahead and let's talk about the one tip that I think can really help take this to the next level instead of just sounding like the same vocalist over and over again. So you'll see I threw auto-tune on these, and I just have it set to the key of the song, and I turn the retune speed pretty far down because I don't want any kind of major tuning. And then what I do is I'll adjust the throat length for every kind of different, vocal take of that section. So technically these are the same kind of melody.
I don't want to wait, if what's done is done, baby.
But I took the throat of one down and I took the throat of the other one up. So we're just gonna create a little bit of depth with the tone, because other than that, I mean, they're basically gonna sound like me just doing a couple different things.
I don't want to wait, if what's done is done, baby.
And again, I'm leaving them completely untuned. I'm leaving them completely untime aligned, and I sang them a little rough in general, that way they don't sink in perfectly. If we would have had a less dense vocal arrangement, we probably could have tightened these up with tuning, just so they didn't stick out. However, with this really tight vocal arrangement, I wanted these to have as much variation as possible. So what you should do is go through with something like Auto-Tune or Melodyne or Very Audio and just adjust that kind of formant, throat length, whatever they're gonna call it in their program, to give the vocal a little bit different characteristic than you could have naturally sung. And then that'll just kind of enhance those different accents that you're doing and those different kind of, techniques that you're doing. And then when you get it all together, all 24 is still me, but
I don't want to wait, if what's done is done, baby. I don't want to stay if he's on your mind lately. Would you understand?
sounds like there is a lot happening. So you could easily do this less times if you want a smaller choir. You could do it more times if you want a bigger choir. You could, write out your specific harmonies and say, you know, if I had a choir of 40 people, I would have 10 people doing this, 10 people doing this, 10 people doing this, 10 people doing this, and then I would take 3 takes of that harmony. So maybe your track ends up being 120 vocals, so it can truly sound like 40 people did 3 takes all within their, you know, respective sections. So that's just how I like to create choir vocals. Again, like I said before, if I was working with an artist on this, I would probably get them to send me 20 different takes doing some different stuff. If I had a friend that could sing, I would pull them in the room and say, you know, hey, do you mind dropping 6 or 7 takes? Because the more different textures and tonalities you can get on this, the more it's going to sound like a natural choir and not like one person just singing the same line over and over again, like we have up here with those kind of vocal stacks. So just to recap, track as many times as possible, leave them untuned and unedited. Process them all as one bus, that way you're not doing a whole bunch of damage to your CPU. And then other than that, try to sing them as differently as possible, and then go in with something like auto-tune and kind of adjust that character of the voice. And then bam, you've got a whole choir with just one vocalist. As you can see, it can be pretty simple to go ahead and get a full choir. Of course, like I said, nothing is going to replace having, you know, 20 to 30 different vocalists. But if you have a producer in the room, or if you have the artist in the room, or you have some friends that are over, if you could go ahead and do the same kind of method with multiple people, you're really, really going to start getting a realistic choir sound. So you can definitely make it work with 1, with 2, it gets fairly simple. With 3 and 4, super easy. And if you have more than that, go ahead and record it as a choir section and kind of follow all of these methods as well. But hopefully this video kind of helped you guys out. Let us know what you want to see in the future. I know a lot of people are wanting a studio tour. I am adding quite a bit of stuff that should be here within the next month or 2. So as soon as everything's in and everything's in place and we are settled, I'll do a full studio tour with a walkthrough, explain all the new gear, all of the new goodies, and I'll keep you guys updated along the way. But let us know what you want to see in the meantime. Other than that, if you want to check out more of our stuff, head over to makepopmusic.com. We've got samples, presets, courses, blog posts, the whole 9. Other than that, come hang out in the community, and I hope that you're all doing safe and staying happy. Much love, everybody. Peace out.
I don't wanna wait, if what's done is done, baby. I don't wanna